Hi, and welcome to another episode of Starship Gaming. Before we get started, don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the bell if you want notifications of when we release more awesome videos. Today we are going to discuss something a little bit different, something a little bit more positive. I mean, if you can consider it positive. We're going to discuss 5 game consoles that are perfect for binge playing during COVID-19, also known as coronavirus. And, of course, any future stuff that happens after this video is released. So if you're watching this a couple years from now or a decade from now, then consider this a historical document. Let's start with our first one to binge play, the NES, also known as the Nintendo Entertainment System. It is ripe for the playing. There is literally hundreds of games to choose from, but if I had to pick 3 to binge play during this whole little fiasco, I would say Super Mario 3, The Legend of Zelda, and Mega Man 4. Of course, those would be my picks, and of course your picks would be different. So as I go along here, I'm going to ask a question as I go for each one, and you tell me, which game from each one of these you would play. So for the NES, Nintendo Entertainment System, what would be your top 3 game picks to play during this whole fiasco? So that's the first one, the NES. The second one, of course, would be the Super NES, or the SNES, or the Super Nintendo Entertainment System. And, this game system, console, there was literally a bunch of amazing games for this console. So this one is definitely a great option. Of course, my top 3 picks for the Super NES would be, of course, ones that people consider the usual. Donkey Kong Country, Super Mario World, and, what would my third pick be? Well, for some reason I'm really fond of, Chess Master. So I guess that would be my 3 favorites that I would play. So tell me in the comments, what would be your 3 picks for the Super NES? Now this third one is just, super ripe for the picking, because there was a lot of great games on it too. Of course, you see in the picture there's a Sega Genesis Mini. Of course, we're not going to be talking about the Mini. We're going to be talking about the big fella behind it, the Sega Genesis, which had 3 models. There was a Model 1, which is the one pictured in the back there, the Model 2, which was slightly smaller, and then the Model 3 that was really a little bit too small, and if you pulled too hard, you literally pulled it off your entertainment cabinet, or your, whatever. Now this one I really had to do some thinking on, because I used to play the Sega Genesis a lot growing up. So for my 3 picks, I would have to say Sonic the Hedgehog 2, and then Earthworm Jim 2, and then my third one would, I would probably say Jurassic Park Rampage Edition, because that game was just awesome. So tell me in the comments down below, what would your 3 picks for the Sega Genesis be? On to the 4th one, the Nintendo GameCube. Now, I know what some of you all are saying. Why haven't you mentioned the 64 or anything like that? Well, I personally think that the GameCube, in terms of binge playing during a crisis, has a few better options. Of course, not saying that the 64 doesn't have some really great games, which it does, but I just think the GameCube would be a better candidate for a crisis. So, my top 3 picks for GameCube, and I really had to sit down and think about this one too. One would be Animal Crossing, because, let's face it, everybody loves OG Animal Crossing. Pokemon Coliseum, definitely. And Luigi's Mansion. Now, it was really tough to decide, because there's a lot of good games for the GameCube. Of course, honorable mention will be Super Mario Sunshine, So tell me, what are your 3 picks for the GameCube? And of course, our last one, which it was kind of tough to decide a top 5 list. I tried to go retro as retro as possible. I didn't want to include anything newer than GameCube or Wii or anything like that. Of course, like I've said in past videos, all of these are my opinion. You have the right to disagree if you want, but these were my top 5 picks. So the last one is the Sony Playstation, or the PS1. And there are literally hundreds of games to play for this console, perfect for binge playing. Of course, I may be playing favoritism, because the PS1 is one of my favorite consoles to play, and still is to this day. I actually have a PS1 that I've played literally every day for 20 years now. If you haven't seen that video from last year, you need to go back and watch it. And this was another tough one to decide the top 3 games that I really wanted to, play for this console, or what I would choose for this console. But I've narrowed it down to 3. And, you may or may not agree. The first one, Final Doom. I mean, who loves Doom? We just had Doom Eternal as of this recording. Just came out. So that's really interesting. My second pick, of course, would be Crash Bandicoot 2. And then, of course, original Spyro the Dragon. Those would be my top 3 picks for that system. Now tell me in the comments down below, what are your 3 picks for the Sony PlayStation? And before we go, my last overall question. Out of all 5 of these, which one is your favorite? Which one do you plan on binge playing? And do you agree or disagree with my list? Of course, this list is all my opinion, so you can't really disagree with it. But tell me, what would be your top 5 consoles that you would like to binge play, or you are binge playing currently? I'm actually binge playing, but mine's a little bit weird. Mine right now currently is SNES, PS1, Xbox One, PC. Let me see, what did I say? And of course, whatever. Those are some of them. So yeah, answer those down in the comments down below. And I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Stay safe out there. Of course, don't forget to like and subscribe, and hit the bell if you want notifications of when we release more awesome videos. And until next time, I will see ya.